What's going on, guys? In today's video, I just want to let you know that I was still recovering from COVID from the previous week and a half-ish, that my voice really wasn't there, but I still wanted to get a video out to you guys. In today's video, we're discussing how to install Visual Studio Code, how to install Node.js, and how to install Angular CLI, and creating our first actual Angular project and discussing the project structure and how everything works. That way, if you do go beyond this video, you can kind of do it yourself and explore with it. Git wasn't installed in this video. I want to do a separate video for it because it's a lot more in depth in terms of how to set it up, how we want to manage it, and all the different terms that come with it. But hopefully you enjoyed. If you do, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if I can do something better. Thank you, and have a good one.
What's going on? First thing we're going to want to do is open up Chrome and just search for Visual Studio Code download. Click on the first link at the top, and since we are on Mac currently, we are going to click on the Mac version. I will get into the Windows as well in this video. So it's just going to give you a zip package. You're going to want to save it to your downloads and then open it, and it's going to open up in your Finder. And once you just double click it and open, trust the source, and boom, Visual Studio Code is installed. Now you're going to want to move it to your applications folder, because whenever you try to update your Visual Studio Code, it will give you a permissions there if you do not, because it is in your downloads folder and not in the applications folder. All right, now let's get into Windows. All right, let's switch to Windows. Switch to Windows, open up Chrome, and do the same thing, Visual Studio Code download. Click on the first link at the top, and we're on Windows, so let's go ahead and click on that one and download it. Now we just click on the link. It doesn't do a zip folder like in Mac. I am on a VM within Mac, so it's going to be a lot easier for users that are actually on it. First of all, I'm going to add these two, add with open with codes, because this is within the Finder. You can right click on things and say open with code if you want to use it like as your text editor instead of Notepad. All right, and then we'll let that download, and then we'll come back to it. All right, so now you can finish and launch it, and boom, now you have Visual Studio Code for Windows. And you can select your browser theme if this is your first time. I personally like the dark theme, but I also use the Cobalt extension from the marketplace. This is usually the only extension I use because I try to stay away from extensions in general. So it's a nice blue slate theme color, and that's what I really like. All right, there you go, set your theme. All right, so now let's get back to Mac. So next thing we want to do is download Node.js. This is what we're going to use to install packages or the libraries that we end up using down the road, or if we end up do. But this is necessary for creating Angular applications. So you want to do an LTS support, because there are certain frameworks that do not work with certain versions of, especially the most current. It's considered like an odd number or something of that sort. It will not want to use it, so you have to downgrade. So that's why we just go ahead and use an LTS and be, safe than sorry. And you just go ahead and click through this. If you want to just install it somewhere, wherever you would like to. All right. So now once it's done downloading, you can hit close, move to trash, and let's go ahead and open up a terminal and ensure that it's downloaded. So all you have to do is type in npm-v in there. 8.1.2, which is the version we just downloaded. npm just stands for Node Package Manager, and it's just the acronym we use for terminal. All right, so we can go do the same thing in Windows. Node.js download Node.js, and then do the Windows installer this time. This one's very similar in terms of actually installing it. You open it. The wizard takes you through the installation. You pick where you want to download it, and this is just what's going to install. It's going to add it to your path, which is like your environmental variables, to where you can have it's just in the root of things. That way you have access to it. and we're not going to install the necessary tools because I've never had to use them, and if we have to, we can always do it later. And so once that's finished, you want to open up a command prompt and then just do the same npm-v. Boom. Alrighty. So now we have verified that that's installed. So now let's go to Angular CLI download. Make sure I type this in correctly. And it's usually just like just a little command that you run. So yeah, click on the first link, and then right there, npm install G. G is for global, so that we have access to it everywhere. And you just want to copy it, open up your terminal, and we're just going to paste it. Let's make this a little bit bigger, and paste it, enter. And so as you see, I didn't give it permissions because on Mac you need permissions to install things globally. And so this is where you're just going to type in sudo and then paste the thing. It's going to ask you for your password. You type in your password, and boom. You don't want to do this for everything, especially with untrusted sources, but with it being Angular, I trust it, and that's why I used it that way. So now let's go and do the same thing for Windows. We're going to want to open up a command prompt and just paste the same thing in here. And this one shouldn't give us any issues with installing it in terms of actual permissions. If it did, we can just open this up as an administrator, the terminal. There. Okay, so it installed pretty easily. And now typically I like to restart after this just to make sure everything's finalized. So I'd go ahead and restart on my Mac. I've already had it installed before. I just went ahead and reinstalled everything, so we should be good to go on the Mac version. So let's go ahead and get started with it. So let's get started with actually creating our first application in terms of getting started with it, and we can go over this project structure. So I already have a folder created, so we're just gonna cd to the desktop, change directories. If you want to, go ahead and go to your desktop, create a folder, or wherever you want the folder to be, and we're just going to do I just named it Angular projects. So cd Angular projects, and then right here we're going to type ng new and then the name of our project. So we're just going to getting started with Angular, and then hit enter, and it's just we're going to add routing. Yes, that is, I'll explain it later as we get into it. We're just going to use regular CSS. If you guys want to see Sass, if it's something that you guys use or just would like to learn, we can go with that. But for now, I've never had to use it. Usually the roles I've been in have been pretty simple, and we just use regular CSS. I know Sass can make it easier in terms of actually nesting things, and certain things like that. So yeah. So this can take a couple seconds, maybe a couple minutes, depending on your machine, and there, it's done. I know on the Windows VM it'll take a slightly longer since it is in Parallels, but now we can go open up Visual Studio Code. We're going to make this a little bit bigger. File, open folder, and we're going to go to our Angular projects on our desktop and getting started with Angular and hit open. And here's the file that we just created, or the app we just created. So the first thing I do want to go over is in our package.json. You're never going to edit this, but this just shows you what versions you're on, dependencies you have, and if certain dependency is too, like certain framework is like saying, your version isn't compatible, you can go in here, look, and you can downgrade, do whatever you need to do. Also, these scripts are for actually building or starting your thing. You can change them to like ng run, whatever you feel comfortable with, but we're just going to leave it with default as just something I'm used to, and it's usually pretty common to see the default. So another thing is, anything you want to add to your app is going to be under the source/app folder. So for example, if we want to add a nav bar, we're going to make a folder in the app, create it with navbar, and then we can create our component within that folder. This is just for structural wise. We want to keep it as clean as possible, and usually I typically, I guess, organize by component or feature, and it usually stays a lot nicer. This is the main app component.html. This is what you're first going to see whenever you start it up, your assets. This is probably where you're going to keep your images. You'll create an image folder and put your images in there. In terms of your environments, we'll get into that if we make our way to it. And now we're good to go ahead and run it and see what it looks like on startup. Let's do ng serve. It might take a couple seconds to start up. Once that started up, it's going to give us a local host, and we can command or control click on it, and it will bring us up on the page. In Windows for you'll be able to go to desktop, create your item. It's recognizing the desktop as my Mac, not this. So we're going to have to open up and go to the actual users folder, and actually create a folder within that. I'm just going to go ahead and link my desktop to the quick access. It's going to look, there's two of them. One's got 2 dots, one's only got, one doesn't have any. It'd be easy for me to differentiate them. For you, it's going to be a lot easier if you're on a regular Windows desktop. So, yep, we created it. Now, we are going to just go to VS Code and actually open it within VS Code. So, same thing, project structure is exactly the same on both Windows and Mac. So all we're going to do is just click ng serve, click on our localhost, and we're good to go. And these actually do work. You can click on the link, and it'll take you to the actual Angular website, and from there you'll be good to go if you want to dig more into it before I post. But as always, make the best of the rest of your day and have a good one.